Well, Joe, thank you for doing this, and thank you for getting up early. You're out there in Minneapolis. Your arm must be sore. You did a lot of waving around last night. Your White Sox team is
That's a good problem to have.
they're exciting. They're exciting. And we're going to talk a little bit about waving your arms and what it's like to be a third base coach. But you know what? We've been doing these little half-hour webinars or Zoom calls for the fans on the Irish American Baseball Society, and we're trying to give them insights into different things that they wouldn't know about. We've talked to some of the guys what it's like to be on charter. We've talked about what it's like to be in the but so you're drafted. I always get this confused because you went to high school in Pennsylvania, but you're right on the Pennsylvania New Jersey border, right?
Correct. Yes.
So you get did Joe Rigoli sign you?
Joe Rigoli did sign me. Yes.
So Joe Rigoli signs you. So you leave. You leave home and you go and you're in the Cardinals, which is a great organization, and you make that steady climb through the minors, and you had those long bus rides, and I mean, you go to the majors, you have a very, very good career with the majors. I was thinking about this when I was doing my research. Do you ever feel that you were 5 or maybe 10 years too early when you see like the Ben Zobrist and those guys? When you were the first of those like super utility guys.
I wouldn't want to do anything differently because I'm afraid it wouldn't turn out the same. I'm truly blessed, and I wouldn't want to do it differently because I'm afraid that things happen for a reason, and I wouldn't be in that place at that time to be fortunate enough to have the career that I had. And I'm definitely afraid that it wouldn't turn out the same.
I hear you. I just I thought of that because I mean, you were like one of the first of your kind. I mean, okay, you didn't pitch or catch, but I mean, you did everything else. You played every other position, including DH. I thought that was pretty impressive.
I started at 7 different positions 5 years in a row.
Yeah, that's and what I didn't know, you finished 5th in the Rookie of the Year voting.
Yes,
which is pretty impressive because I mean, you came up, you were late getting to that year. So here this was my question. So you go from spending all that time in the charter and all that time in the major leagues, and I know management has always been your passion, but you go back. What was the culture shock like going back to the minors and back to those long bus rides?
It wasn't a culture shock. I believed it was my time to give back to the game what I've been taught by so many great people along the way, and through conversations and teachings and experience, to be able to go back and help our organization, our players moving forward. I thought it was my time to give back, and it's like a fraternity. It's passed down from generation to generation, and I believed it was my time, and truthfully, it's more rewarding than anything I've ever done playing.
I've seen that. I love when we get to chat and we talk about some of the players that you had coming up through the minors, and the pride with which you speak to it. The shocking thing that about this was. Now, Joe McEwing is one of the nicest guys I know, and just for the record, as people know, first baseball ever signed for Foley's, signed by Joe McEwing. Granted, he didn't sign it to me, he signed it to my son, but the first baseball. But here's the one thing that I didn't realize until, as the players are coming up, is that as the young umpires started coming up, and I would say, hey, you had Joe McEwing. Oh, Foley has made an appearance. You can't see her, but
I saw her come in.
She likes to be a part of these. She'll find the noisiest.
Keep the photos up on Instagram because it gives me great joy, and I smile.
She's. I think one of the best thing to come out of 2020.
She had enough. She's out.
Here's the thing. All the umpires said, Joe McEwing, he was a hard ass. He was always hard, and I was like, really? That he's the nice guy. He said, no, he's, and I'm like, well, maybe he was teaching you guys that, this is what you're going to learn at the major league level. I was kind of surprised that people said, oh, you'd ask them, hey.
No, you have so much passion for your players, and you care about them on a daily basis, because one call, one pitch, one hit or multiple hits could change your careers. So, I mean, you have so much passion and you care so much about
So,
every individual in your ball club. And, I just, when I get between the lines, I compete. I compete. I want to win every single day. And when you have that mentality and you care about every single individual on the field, you take it personal. And that's a gift and a curse at times, because it can get you in trouble. But I care too much about the players.
so I don't know if you know, but this week or sometime this week, the 20,000th player in the history of will play for in Major League Baseball. Do you know your number?
I do not.
Now, the only reason I asked this is I was listening on MLB Network Radio, and C. Janikowski and Spilly were on it, and they both knew their numbers. And I was like, well, that's kind of weird. For the record, you're 14,398. I looked it up.
I got to write that down. All right.
Yeah. So that.
Well, I mean, and that's how, when I went back and I said I'd be afraid that it wouldn't work out the same. That's how truly blessed that I am, that to be able to be one of those 20,000 to ever play in the history.
Ever play again. And you know what's weird? What's weird about that? Michael Conforto was the 1,000th person to play for the Mets. Now, I know that because there's a guy called Charles O'Brien, not the catcher, Charles O'Brien, who was a customer for these, and he made me see these beautiful posters. And I think I may have shown it. You're on one of them, but he had a poster of the first 1,000 people that had ever played for the Mets.
Wow.
I thought it was weird, because I mean the Mets haven't been around that long, and they account for 20% of everyone who plays for the Mets. So
I would love to see that poster.
I have two of them. I actually had three different Mets ones. He made a lovely Mets one that has basically every All-Star that ever played for the Mets in the history of the.
I'm not on that poster.
No, you're not on that one, but you're on the other two. So now this is something that was kind of brought home to me this week. So as you know, Christy Acker's my girlfriend. She covers the Yankees for the Daily News. Well, Christy took a line drive off the forehead in the press box on Saturday. Now she's fine. All the tests are negative. She does have two very nice looking black eyes. So we do get some questionable looks when we go out in public. And obviously Kevin Pillar gets hit and gets his nose you've been hit, I think it was 22 times. What was the worst one? Or was the one that stands out?
The worst one was when I was in the Dominican playing winter ball. Felix Rodriguez hit me with 98 in the head, and it wasn't intentional. It was 0-2 pitch trying to come in and hit me in the head, and that was before all the concussion protocols, and I think I was out for like 30 seconds, and got up. And I said, I'm not coming out of this game. Started walking to first, and I'm like, I'm not coming out of this game. And they're like, no, you need to come out. I'm like, no, I'm not coming out of this game. I didn't come down here to not play. I'm not coming out of this game. And they took me out, which was the right thing to do. And so that was the worst one.
Wow. But now, I mean, do you have to it's got to be the hardest thing ever to just wipe that out of your memory and get back in the box the next time. I mean, it's.
Yeah, I mean, and the quicker you're able to get back in and go through those reps of seeing pitches and seeing pitches close, and, the better off you're going to be.
Yeah, because I remember having a conversation with Tom Giordano, T-Bone, the scout, and he was with the Braves at the time, and they made that trade to get Dansby Swanson, and he had been, the first round pick, and he was highly thought of. But the thing was, same thing happened to him. They put him in. They had a pitcher that had some emotional issues and kept disappearing from the team, but the guy threw 102 miles an hour. So he'd been away from the team for 10 days. They bring him back, and they thought it was a wise idea to have him throw live BP. First ball, he hit Dansby Swanson in the job, dismantled his jaw. I mean, that's a young kid,
Yes.
But so we're let's go back to the White Sox for a minute. And you're now the third base coach, okay?
Yes.
And so I want to try and give some of the people that are listening a little insight on what it's like to be the third base coach. I heard a great line recently about they were talking about interviewing a third base coach, and one of the guys said, it's like, you haven't had anybody thrown out in a while, and he said, if I haven't had anyone thrown out in a while, I'm not trying hard enough.
Yes.
And then of course I remember I remember talking to a couple of players a few years ago, and we were talking about their third base coach at the time, and they said, the team affectionately refers to him as David Copperfield. I'm like, why do you call him David Copperfield? He said, because he can make base runners disappear. So I mean, it's not there. There's more that goes into third base than just strolling out there at the start of the inning and just I mean, how much homework do you have to do? Like, I mean, you really need to know how good, not only obviously how fast and how good your players are, but I mean, you have to keep stats on the outfielders on every other team.
Yes. I mean, there's a lot of preparation that goes into it. Before a series, I'll go in and break down every outfielder, ground balls, fly balls, how they move going to the left, how they move going to the right, how they break down before fielding the ground ball. Will they get flat-footed on balls going back? Will they get flat-footed on balls right at them? And try to get every little edge we possibly can. And knowing the ballpark configuration, plays into it. How fast the grass is, knowing our players, their turns, their cuts, their jumps, are they healthy? Are they banged up a little bit? Who I can push, who I can't push. So there's a lot of preparation, a lot of video watching going into it. And, going out there and that's the fun part of it, and your heart gets going again. And, you play every situation through in your head before it happens, and that's, I look to see where every outfielder is with nobody on, runner on first, runner on second, where every infielder is, how are infielders going out on the relays, how quick are they? Are they accurate? So there's a lot that truly goes into it. And that's what I really enjoy is, and I like to take chances. I like to be aggressive. And we said that from day one of spring training, we're going to be aggressive. You're going till I stop you. Yeah. And, these guys have done an amazing job of getting after it every single day.
Well, I mean, you're off to a great start. I mean, I'm considering all the injuries that you have. But it's funny, I was just thinking, I was looking at someone had sent me some videos on Delano DeShields, Tatis Jr. and Byron Buxton and just how fast they are. Ooh. I was just thinking as a third base coach, I mean, how much fun can you have?
Yeah. I mean, we have Billy Hamilton now, and we have Tim Anderson now, and it's truly a luxury. You're thinking about scoring Billy Hamilton from first base on a routine ground ball to the outfield.
He's the one guy I was like, I have a lot of admiration for him, because I mean, he basically came into the league and the only thing he had was speed. I mean, he couldn't, and you can't steal first, right. But I mean, he has actually turned himself into, I mean, better than a half. I mean, he's not a great player. He's a great runner. He's a great base runner.
Yes.
But
he's a very good outfielder as well. And
but you watching him when he came up, he was dreadful when he came up with the Reds first.
I mean, and I think he was pushed a little bit. The first round pick, and with all the hype, and not being able to get the reps and go through the reps and learn how to play the complete game, and not just one aspect of the game.
Now we're talking about all this. So you have to do all this research. And I don't want you to give out.
Telling Billy now, you hit better than you run, and
wow.
We're pumping him up. You hit better than you run. No, he's a great teammate, and just an absolute pleasure to be around every day. Go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
So here's the question, and I don't want you to give any secrets away, but you just talked about having. I mean, there really aren't any great outfield arms anymore like there used to be. I mean, you know, I mean, like guns. I mean, we've all seen what he. Now, granted, I have to say that I don't know if you saw that throw Hunter Renfroe made at the Red Sox. Where he
Yeah.
that was, you know, but I mean, they're the exception rather than the rule. I mean, you know, I mean, go back. I mean, even go back to when you played. I mean, you had, you know, you had. I mean, Vlad Guerrero, you know, was one. I mean, there was so many of those guys that just could.
Alex Ochoa, Guillen.
Yeah.
There were so many great arms around the league, and not just great arms. They're athletic, and they were quick getting to it, and they were quick getting it out. You know, and that's what, you know, that's this prep work, the study work that goes in. You know, how quick they getting it out, are they accurate? With arm strength. So, you know, and a lot of it is gone these days because of, you know, the way the industry and the game is gone. You know, they want power, they want home runs, and it doesn't matter what position you're in.
Yeah. Yeah, that's we won't go down that rabbit hole because I mean, sadly, yeah, now it's a case of I mean, it's kind of weird when they get to the point where they're now going to devalue no hitters because guys don't care anymore about if they strike out 4 times or.
And I think that's one of the main reasons why we have been successful to this point. You know, our staff does an amazing job. You know, not giving away at bats and grinding through at bats. I think we're last in the league in home runs right now. We preach play a complete game, and you know, we're pitching, defending, and getting timely hits. And I believe that's why we are where we are now with all the injuries that we have had. You know, it's you know, who's up next and who's going to provide that spark to keep that lineup going.
And your pitching has been pretty good.
Yes, our pitching has been unbelievable.
So we do have a question from one of our listeners. Bobby Score wants to know, what about Bryce Harper's arm?
Bryce Harper has a cannon. He throws extremely well.
And I mean, there's a guy who has a little bit of Joe McEwing in him. I mean, he got hit on the nose, and he would like, I'm really, you know, I mean, granted, it just glanced off it, and it's not like some of the rest of them, but you know, so.
I think about Bryce Harper. When you're committed to graduate high school so early, so you can enter the draft, you're a baseball lifer. I mean, you care about this game too. That's all you want to do. You want to play this game, and you know, I respect that a lot.
You know what? There's a lot of people that don't like Bryce Harper. The biggest reason they don't like Bryce Harper is because he signed that contract. I mean, the same is true of A-Rod. Most Yankee fans hate A-Rod for 2 reasons: because he signed a $252 million contract, and because he said what he said about that Jeter never would have got paid if he didn't get paid, which is true. But I got to meet Bryce when he was 17. He came to Foley's, right? It was like possibly 2 or maybe 3 weeks after he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, you know. And I mean, he was a good kid, great kid. You know, I mean, his father's a steel worker in Vegas.
Yes.
And his father, Ron, took him to work with him, you know, and because it's so hot in Vegas, you go to work at 4 o'clock in the morning.
Yes.
So they would go to the gym, they would work out, and then he would take them to, he was like, this is what you're going to be doing if you're not playing baseball, you know, you're going to be, and
I love that.
I mean, and you know what it is, I mean, a lot of people, I mean, you know, he gets a bad rap, but I mean, you look at some of the stuff he did. I mean, I think it's kind of cool, the fact that Bryce Harper is Freddie Freeman's kid's favorite player. I thought that's hilarious.
I mean, and his numbers provided that contract.
Yeah, oh, without doubt. I mean, he was going to, you know, and that's the thing. There's that kind of jealous, you know. But you know, so you're reunited with Tony La Russa.
Yes, sir.
So it's kind of like you get a second bite of the apple, because you got to spend, I know that you learned a lot from him, you know, being on the bench with him when you were a player. Now, obviously, you're older and wiser. He's older and wiser. You get a chance, and like it's kind of like a graduate class. But I do have one question. I know when you got traded from the Cardinals,
the master's class.
Yeah, that's
it's a master's class, because you know, I never want to stop learning, and I learn something every day. And through conversations or actions of what Tony does, I pick up something every day, and extremely fortunate to be able to be around him and learn from him every day.
But I do remember reading somewhere that when you got traded from the Cardinals to the Mets, that he asked for a pair of your cleats.
He did. Yes.
Did you ever find out what he did with them? It's like, hey, Tony, do you still have those cleats?
No, he does. And he reminds me of it every day, and I remind him, okay, why'd you allow the trade then?
That's a good point. But I mean, the thing, you know what? I think you flourished
in a joking manner.
But I mean, yeah. So, I mean, you've been lucky enough. So you're in New York, with the whole Mets Yankee rivalry, and you're in Chicago with the whole. I mean, is there a difference between being in a city with two teams?
It's different and it's the same. I see so many similarities between Yankees, Mets, White Sox, Cubs, as far as fan base, passion. They want to compete against each other, and they both want the city. And I think it's truly unbelievable and so great for the game that that's able to happen, and I wish there was more of it, because there's a competitive nature between rivals, and New York, it's a bigger stage, bigger spectrum, and just thinking about, playing in the World Series in 2000, the whole world shut down for one city, and that was extremely amazing to be a part of. You were
on the bench. You were on the bench.
Yes. And I remember, us taking a bus from Shea to Yankee Stadium on a Friday at 3:30 in the afternoon, 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and there's not one single person on the road, not one single person. I mean, we had a police escort all the way to Yankee Stadium, and all the on ramps and off ramps were blocked. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, definitely. So just back to third base for a second. So everybody has their favorite stadiums that they like to hit in. Are there stadiums that are easier to coach third than others, or harder?
Yes.
Oakland,
You enjoy the bigger, spacious outfields as a third base coach. Fenway's tough. Fenway's extremely tough. When we had our pre-series meeting, I said, don't be surprised on the ball in the left field corner if I'm waving you and you're going around me. So I could see the ball down in the left field corner and the garage door that the ball can get into, so that, I said, don't be surprised if and it happened the first play in Boston.
Wow. So then you gotta love Oakland.
Love Oakland. Love Oakland. Love Detroit. I love the big stadiums. Yes.
That's awesome. Well, Joe, we're not going to keep you because obviously you have a game to get ready for. We appreciate you doing this. I think it's ironic. We did this with Duke Castiglione last week, so I just suddenly realized that we've got the Randy Johnson connection between the two of you, but yet we didn't mention Randy Johnson because there's more to your career than the fact that you could hit Randy Johnson. So listen, we wish you well. We wish you well for the White Sox. I hope if you get to Florida that we can get together and break some bread now that things are.
That'd be amazing.
That'd be amazing.
And just to let you know, like, this week has been so bittersweet because, I've been thinking about it for the last 2 or 3 weeks, and I always circle it on the calendar, going to New York and not being able to go to Foley's. It hurts.
Hopefully,
it was always welcome. I mean, you always welcome myself, my family, and we're going to New York with an off day and a Saturday day game, and always picture myself going into Foley's after the Saturday day game with the family and having dinner. So,
well, I do appreciate it. You're always one of my favorites. Like I said, one of my favorite numbers has always been 47. And people's like, hey, you like Tom Glavine? I was like, no. I said, in 2000, there were two guys playing in New York, and I didn't know either of you at the time, you and Shane Spencer. And again, the passion that you have for the game, and the fact that, you know, Spencer spent, I don't know, 12, 13 years in the minors, and it was like, that's what baseball's about. They're great. The big contracts are fine, but the stories when you have the guys that, hey, you spent a long part of your life being told you couldn't do it, but you know what? You did it, and you continue to do it. And we you know, I get a lot of pride every time I got to see a White Sox and you're waving that arm around. And
I appreciate
so thanks again.
It's all about the friendships and the memories.
Precisely. All right, buddy. We'll talk to you soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Take care, and thanks for doing it.
Thanks, Shaun.
Bye-bye.